radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening, Fade to Black. How you doing? I am your host, Jimmy Church. Today is Monday, January 20th, 2025. Let's do this, man. Yeah. Tonight, Whitley Strieber's on with us. And I think everybody's kind of noticed that I've been losing my voice lately. And I just can't keep my throat lubricated. There's a thing with people that use their voice a lot, and that is always a concern. You know, your vocal cords are an engine, and you need to take care of it. And so anyway, I've been blowing it out for the last couple of weeks, but so tonight I've raised the microphone and I'm gonna talk like I'm on NPR. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And I've got, of course, my water at the ready. Yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. Okay. I'm going to start with this. This news broke right before showtime tonight. John Sykes, guitars for Whitesnake and Blue Murder, and just an amazing talent, passed away today, 65 years old, of cancer. And I was reading everybody's post about John and sharing their memories, and I was very fortunate in around 1989. I had some studios off of Sunset Boulevard, and in one of those studios, he came in and recorded 3 songs for a demo that turned out to be their new album for Blue Murders, Carmine Appice and Tony Franklin and John Sykes. And anyway, they were there for about a month. So yeah, you know, I got to see him almost every day, and Carmine and Tony, they're just great guys, and it was really cool stuff. But anyway, so the one memory that I have of John is really funny. I'm in my studio working. We had 3 studios, all part of our complex, my complex. Anyway, so he's next door in, I'll just say, his studio. And it's probably midnight or so, and we're kind of wrapping up the day. There's a knock on the door. And I open, it's John, and he goes, "Hey, man, can I get a jump?" I said, "What?" He goes, "My battery's dead." And he had this pickup truck. It was like a Ford, 1955 Ford or something, you know, or 50s Ford with a big engine in it. Very nice street race truck. Really, really cool. And so I went down and I drove, like, I think I had like a Datsun or something. I can't even remember. And I jumped his truck. But anyway, so we stood out there and talked trucks and just hung out for about an hour on the patio that night. And I went in and listened to some stuff. And he was just a really, really nice guy. Talent beyond belief. Great singer, great guitar player, great songwriter, all of that. We know that. But he was just a genuine, just a good person. So anyway, passed away today. And yeah, it's affected a lot of people because, you know, everybody wants to say, well, he was one of the good guys. Well, yeah, he was. And it's kind of affected people. So anyway, rest in peace, John Sykes. With that, happy birthday to Linda Moulton Howe. That's right. It's Linda's birthday today, everybody. And she's out there celebrating, I'm sure. A friend of the show, a friend of Whitley's, friend of the community. Happy birthday, Linda. And everybody post something in the comments. Happy birthday to Linda, because if she catches this later, and I'm sure Serena's listening right now, that maybe she'll go back and read your comments. So happy birthday, Linda. All right. Got to keep the throat going. Help support everything that we do around here. Get yourself a Fade to Black t-shirt. We have 2 shirts, 2 ways to get them. The links are below. Get a Game Changer membership or order a t-shirt. Everything is autographed. Everything includes shipping. This week on Fade to Black tonight, Whitley Strieber is here. We're going to talk about his new book and some other stuff. His new book is called The Fourth Kind. Tomorrow night, Craig Campobasso is back with us. He's got a new film out, the E.T. Species Almanac. It's the film version of his book. Wednesday night, Lionel Friedberg is with us, and we're going to be talking about tribal shaman and you. Thursday night, it's Sarah Breskman Cosme. That's right. She's back with us, and she's got a new book out, and a hypnotherapist journey to Avalon. And that is Thursday night. So we've got an amazing week coming up on Fade to Black. I want to remind everybody, I'm going to do this real quick. I've got 5 major events coming up. Conscious Life Expo, of course, this February 7th through the 10th, 2025. Rise of the Guardians, that's March 29th and 30th, 2025 in Sedona, Arizona. Contact Modalities Expo, that's May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2025 in Delavan, Wisconsin at Delavan Lake. Then Contact in the Desert, May 29th through June 2nd. Here in Los Angeles and Palm Springs. And then I'm heading back to Peru with Brian Forrester. That is June 17th through the 27th, 2025 for the Inca Celebration of the Sun. The links for everything are below. All right. Whitley Strieber. He's with us tonight. He's got a new book out. It's called The Fourth Kind. And before I go into a long bio about Whitley, I owe so much to Whitley. And although I've mentioned this before, it never really gets old because it's the truth. And the truth is great. Whitley sucked me in with his conversation style. And Unknown Country and everything, all his interviews that he was doing over there. And I was just listening to them back to back to back and his style. And I just thought, here, I'm just listening to a couple of friends sitting at a table, right? Drinking coffee and having a conversation. That's the way I want to do it. When you go to school for broadcast, and also if you're on the set and you're shooting for a TV show or a movie, the producer or director will always say, all right, just speak to the camera like you're talking to some friends at a campsite. That's all you got to do, right? That's all you got to do. And that's what Whitley does. And it really, really set me on a path of a level of where I wanted to get to and how I wanted to present myself and how I wanted things to be. And I owe that to him. Sure, there's communion and all of his other great work and his friendship. There's all of that. But do yourself a favor. Get over to Unknown Country. Get a subscription and check out Whitley. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black. He's right here. Whitley Strieber. Whitley.
Hello, Jimmy. First, we have to correct something. It's the fourth mind, M-I-N-D, not
What
kind.
did I say?
You said the fourth kind.
Did I? I did. No, I.
Yeah, you
no
did.
way.
You did.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know
Well,
what?
anyway, I'm done.
That's your next book.
That's right. That's great. I've got my title already. Fabulous.
Did I really? It's I literally in my teleprompter. I wish I could spin this around. Whitley Strieber, The Fourth Mind. It's right there. It's in big capital letters. It just goes
We're
to show
all getting
you.
older, Jimmy.
I know. You get all this equipment, you get all this technology, doesn't mean shit. It's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. Whitley, I want to start here. The book, okay. Has this book been lurking to come out of you? The timing of it is so precise and what it is doing. And there's that part. But the second part, with everything that's going on with physics and the Hubble and the James Webb and everything else that is happening right now, what you explore in the book is also going on right now in the universe and our world around us. So
Yeah.
it was this just burning to come out of you?
No, it's our strange friends from the beyond have got a timeline, and the book's part of the timeline. I had a January 15th pub date. It had to be then or before. And I managed to get it out on Kindle and paperback on the 15th, which was close enough, fortunately. And because I still got an audiobook and a hardcover to finish. But basically that's done. And, you know, after I thought to myself, something is going on. And that after the book came out, all of this other stuff began falling into place. And prior to that, I had been finding out, getting a lot of stuff into my old head about telepathy. And then I discovered this, a friend sent me this podcast called the Telepathy Tapes. And I thought, God, I've been thinking about that. And now suddenly, am I telepathic? What? I listened to the Telepathy Tapes and I realized this is about where we're going to go. The Telepathy Tapes is about unvoiced people and who are on their autism spectrum, and they turn out to be telepathic. And this is extraordinary. And this Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell has proved this to the point that it's not in dispute anymore. This is a huge thing because we think to ourselves, these people are telepathic because they're non-voiced and they are autistic. What about us? And as soon as you start to play with it, you soon realize that you're telepathic too. We just didn't realize it. And this all fit into this, especially the second part of my book about the changes that are going to happen and have to happen with us to create the fourth mind. And because we can do this. It's doable. And it's a different way of being alive. It's a different way of being human in a better way, for a whole lot of different reasons.
There seems to me, and you touch upon this in the book, but I also started I started this little campaign maybe 6 months ago, Whitley, planting these seeds. And my statements were, and it's just strange because it's exactly what you're touching upon in the book, which is this. Einstein wanted a theory of everything. That was his goal. He didn't get it done. All right. But you can't have a theory of everything until we figure out consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. You can't, there's no way you can have a theory of everything with it now. So when physics gets that figured out, a theory of everything is quite doable. But the biggest part of all that there is consciousness, right?
Right. Well, and a large part of this neurology community, in fact, most of it, is trying to make the hard problem of consciousness into an easy problem. And what they're doing, the way they're doing that is they're saying it's only inside our heads, and therefore it's part of the brain, and we can figure it out. That's not the case. The case is not that it is in here, but it's out there, and what's in here plugs us into it. This isn't the seat of consciousness. This is a plug that plugs into consciousness. So, go ahead.
If that's the case, is it outside of possibility that stars could have consciousness, that the universe thinks for itself and has thought?
Galileo discovered that the Earth was going around the sun. And then Copernicus discovered that the universe was much larger. Then we discovered in the late 19th century another galaxy, the Andromeda galaxy. Now we know that there are 21 trillion planets in this galaxy. Consciousness is really big. Your cat, your dog. People say to me, I want to become telepathic. What do I do? I say, work with your cat, work with your dog, and don't try to tell them things. You'll learn to communicate in pictures very quickly. And people are doing this. It's not hard. It's part of the way we are. Go ahead.
The videos of people's dogs, I've seen this happen myself, but the videos of people's dogs running to the window 10 minutes before somebody gets home. Because they know, right? They know. They're telepathic.
They are telepathic. They're all telepathic. And when they recognize that, when they get to the point where there's a telepathic exchange, because all of these animals' lives, they've been looking at you and wondering why you don't talk to them, why you don't respond, because they'll never understand this, but they understand this immediately. I'll give you an example. I've known about telepathy for a long time because the visitors are telepathic, aliens or whatever they are. And when you're with them, you're telepathic too. So I knew it existed way back in the early days just after the community experience. And so I experimented with my cats. One of them didn't really respond to me, but the other one, I said to her, I want to see through your eyes. And immediately I was seeing myself looking down at her in my head vividly. And I had these deep, dark eyes, and my hands were hanging down at my side. I was standing in front of her, and she was lying on the floor. And my fingers were indistinct because she can't count. She doesn't know what numbers are. So they were just sort of vague. But, she could see that they were there, but they didn't have any significance as separate fingers. And it was that point that I knew that I had telepathy with with our cats. And after that, the relationship with her especially changed very much. And she would, as soon as I sat down at my desk to start writing, Sadie would come, jump in my lap, and we wrote, in her lifetime, 5 or 6 books together. And Sadie was I guess in the old days, then they call them familiars, and the witch had a familiar. Well, that's real. I have a friend, Raven Dana, who's some people may know about. She's a remarkable lady who had a close encounter experience at my cabin in the early days, a big one. One of the best that was ever there. She actually had one of these people touch her hand, and which is a big deal because they don't touch us very much. at least not when we're in a normal state of mind. So a few months ago, this wonderful, extraordinary gray cat shows up on her porch. The cat has obviously, she sent me a picture. The cat looked like this cat needed some help. So she needed a home. But when the cat came in, she said to me, Raven said to me, not the cat, this cat is very unusual. And the cat has become a familiar, just like Sadie was. The cat is fluently telepathic. Not all cats and dogs are as telepathic. Some are more telepathic than others. A lot of them, I think, have interrogated us telepathically and not gotten a response, and they don't do it anymore. They've forgotten about it. But it's real.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
real.
It is. The other day, I'm on my Harley. I'm coming home. I'm a block from my house, maybe a half mile. And it's a mile between stop signs out here. So I'm like a half mile. And I'm coming up the main street, and something catches my eye. It's about 4:00 in the afternoon, Whitley. And I look up and I see the moon. But then I look and the moon is over here. So I look straight ahead again. I'm looking up and it's a white ball. And then it was a flock of birds, but it was a ball, right? And then it did this. It was incredible. It was insane. And as I'm riding my bike, I went, that's one brain.
Yeah.
That's telepathy. That's one brain.
They live by telepathy. The animals do.
It was mind blowing. It was a white ball. It was a perfect sphere. So much so that I thought it was the moon. I thought, wow, the moon's kind of bright and low. Weird. And then I just looked, there's the moon over here. So then I was thinking UFO, of course. And I looked back and then it spread out and I was just watching. I thought that's telepathy. That's telepathy
it's like,
in play.
It's like schooling fish in schools.
Same thing.
Same thing. People have tried for years to figure out how they do that. And the answer is they're telepathically connected. There's one fish.
Funny.
There might be thousands of fish there, but there's basically one fish there.
It's so funny. They'll say things like, it's magnetism. It's this. It's stop, man. It's consciousness.
Get used to it. Just get used to it. A big part of the second half of my book is about empowering us to understand we have this, we can use it. As soon as you understand that, it starts. It's just learn to keep your imagination out of it and you'll be fine.
Oh, I want to shift gear. We'll get back to that. I want to shift gears for a second because, again, the timing of your book and current events is absolutely extraordinary. And it's this. Over the weekend, Ross Coulthart did another, I'm going to use air quotes, whistleblower special event. And he promised this and he promised that. Okay, so anyway, the show, the special, whatever you want to call it, comes and goes. And this video is revealed of a helicopter picking up an object. And I would think that finally we get something crisp and clear that everybody's complained about. But my point to all of this is very simple. A lot of drama, a lot of hype behind this show. And then it comes and goes. And I think that the takeaway from nearly everybody is that there was nothing here. And the object that could have been picked up by that helicopter could have been anything.
That's the problem with that video. I saw it.
Yeah. So is this part, would you look at, I'm not putting anything on Ross, but, when you have whistleblowers coming forward, you need to have facts. You can't get caught with your pants down. You've got to come and you got to bring the goods. There weren't any in this. Would you consider this to be and these types of whistleblowers, is this disinformation that is unintentional, right? That they believe this to be one thing, but it's something else, and the government is allowing. Is this part of the secrecy and the cover up to do this kind of bait and switch? I was just shocked at the lack of substance in this special.
It could be. And am I wrong? Am I thinking about the same video? Didn't he say in that video also that, not Ross, the guest,
Mhm.
that he felt that something had come back with him, and that it possessed him?
Okay. Now we'll talk. Let's circle back.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
the
let's,
answer
yeah,
is
okay,
yes.
well, let's, yeah, okay, then we'll circle back to that. But I agree with you. A white ball being picked up by a helicopter is not going to, if it hadn't been hyped so intensely as the smoking gun, essentially almost to that point,
Right.
it would have worked better. But I know Ross, and I love Ross, and I respect him enormously, and he is trying hard to do this.
Certainly.
He's serious about it and very sincere. So I don't fault Ross, and I don't fault anybody. I don't think they fully understood. They're too, in a way, they're too in the flow of it. They knew what it was, and they didn't realize that somebody coming in from totally cold from the outside would just see a big white ball.
I would imagine that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of videos out there of helicopters with cargo underneath it that looks just like that. I mean,
Well, I don't know how many there are out there. I personally have never seen one, but I can't disagree with you. It didn't look like it did not look like anything special.
Now, except, and this is where I'm going to go with my gut on this. The consciousness discussion, the CE5 type of discussion that he started to have, and the ability to call in these ships, is that telepathy consciousness thing that we're talking about here.
And that's why the visitors, I'm sure, were so intent about this show. They were on it. I mean, they were definitely getting through to me about it. And it's because of that, not the video, but that. And that is, if they're going to show up in our world, people think, oh, a flying saucer will land and little men will come out of it or something. That's not where they're going to show up first. They're going to show up first in our heads. And it's going to turn out, and it's going to be very disturbing to a lot of people at first, because I had it happen to me years ago, and it is disturbing that suddenly you're not alone in your own head. Right now, for example, as it happens, usually during a show like this, my implant is turned on, and I will get a notice, in effect. It says PR on, and that's not happened tonight, but it doesn't happen all the time. It happens about 3/4 of the time. I guess they knew I was on with you.
Mine starts twitching when you're on the show too. I had also, now back to the disinformation part of this, or misinformation, and I'm with you on that. Ross is a pit bull. The dude is not playing around, right?
No.
He is very, very, very serious about this. But I had read, now I don't know, I haven't spoken to Ross, and I'm sure that he's been dealing with enough about this special, but I had heard that the video that was shown was not shot by the whistleblower. That was a separate incident.
That I don't know.
Yeah. And I thought, now, wait a minute. What is it that Ross and others are seeing in this video that I seem to be missing? I don't know. I don't know. Is my discernment meter up too high? Have I lost my sense of wonder?
We're all looking for more than was there. That's the fact. And we were looking for more than was there because, and I will repeat what I said in the sense that, Ross knew it, and I know it, and you know it, but no one can tell is coming on this cold what that was. It didn't look like anything, and it looks like, I know I probably can make a good guess that this was an object that was came from the graves, because a lot of their things are just like that. They're like big eggs, and what it was doing on the ground, being picked up by a helicopter, God knows. But there it was, and if that's what it really was, then it's extraordinary. But you couldn't tell. There was nothing that would say this is definitely this, and there's no wow factor. You had to come to it believing that it was a UFO, and there was no wow factor, and people are just looking to get a step beyond that, and they didn't do that. That did not happen.
Isn't that called leading questions? Right? You know what I mean? Right? If you weren't told what to look for ahead of time, you would have never seen that.
Well, yeah, that's very true. It's very true. Excuse me. You mentioned earlier you're having voice issues. I am too. And I'm not the only podcaster who's having. You suppose it's something in the air?
Half of LA burnt down last week.
Yeah, but this started with me before. I went to the voice.
It started with me before too. Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did. It did. For me, it's been going on for about 2 months.
That's exactly about how long it's been going on for me too.
Yeah. Yeah, about 2 months. And I've been fighting it, and I'm trying to do all the right things. And I think I know that I'm on the mend, but it's not like I just, okay, yeah, it's over. Oh, thank good. No, it's like one day, one more day, one more day.
It's not quite over. Well, I have to tell you, I went to a ENT, and she stuck a machine, scoped down my throat and looked everything over, and there was nothing wrong. I had a scan of my lungs, and they were clear. So I was left thinking, something's changing in the air, maybe. And then I saw these drones just spewing stuff out in the Northeast, and I thought, oh, God. Then that fog, I know you weren't in, there was the weirdest fog. At first, I thought to myself, there was all these stories about people, these weird fogs all over the country. And I thought, and I was coming home a week before last from somewhere, driving home late at night, and it was very foggy in Santa Monica. There's nothing unusual about that. I'm going to make myself cough talking about this. Anyway, so I ignored it. I got up in the morning. It's Monday morning, and I go to the gym at 6:30 on Monday mornings usually. And so I go to the gym. I do a pretty intense workout. And that afternoon, I get sick as a dog. I was still fog. And I thought to myself, maybe these people are right. Maybe there is something weird about this fog. And I'm sick, and I have a chest cold, and I feel horrible. I just don't know. It worried me. It bothered me.
I know. A couple of weeks ago, speaking of that fog, I went down to our good friend, Serena Wright Taylor, went down to her house, and for Christmas dinner that I do every year, right? We do this every year. And so I'm coming up. She's in Huntington Beach. I've got to be in Huntington at like 1 p.m. or something. So it's like noon. And I'm coming down the 405 into Santa Monica. And right there at Getty Center, this is December 26th, right? The day after Christmas. So I'm coming down, and right at Getty Center. So for everybody, it's just a big hill. So I'm coming up to crest the hill, and I see it. It's a friggin' wall of fog. It's a wall. I look behind me, and it's blue skies. I'm looking in front. I can't see anything. And I come up over, crest the hill, past the Getty Center, and I just disappear into this fog. It was so thick. and it lasted way past. Oh man, I'm going to say past LAX. You know, it was a good 5-10 miles of fog, and I got down there, and I asked everybody. Paul Hynek was there. You know, Christine Augustin, she's there. They
Yeah.
are all up for my area, right? I said, "Do you guys see that fog?" Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was the thickest in the middle of the day. Middle of the day. It was like I couldn't see. And that was the other thing. When you're in that kind of fog, you never know when the brake lights are going to hit in front of you on the freeway at
Right.
70 miles an hour. Now, okay, so the other thing, which again is in your book, and everybody, Unknown Country and Whitley's links are below, where you can order the book, and you can also go and subscribe to his website and listen to his stuff. It's absolutely amazing. But one of the things that was announced today that we knew, and you just touched upon this, about 21 trillion planets in our Milky Way.
No, in the whole universe.
Oh, in the whole universe. No, there's
Yeah.
21 trillion galaxies.
No.
Yeah.
There's
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
okay. There's a hell of a lot. That's the point. Enough to where the numbers have no meaning.
None. And let me explain why I bring this up. There could be 21. There's 1 trillion stars in the Milky Way. We have 9 planets around our star. So there's could be more, there could be less, but we know that just about every single star in our Milky Way has at least 1 planet.
Okay,
So
I've got
the number.
ChatGPT here. I'm going to get you the answer. Go ahead.
Oh, ChatGPT is wrong. I am the Encyclopedia Britannica on this. So anyway, so today this press release comes out about the Hubble and the James Webb have additional data that the universe is not only expanding faster and faster and faster, but that it's expanding at different rates in different parts of the galaxy or different parts of the universe. But here's the crazy part about this. We're looking for life. We would like to have some kind of detection of something on an exoplanet. I get that. But most of the universe is gone. It's gone. It's expanding faster than the speed of light.
We cannot see it. Exactly.
We will never see it. We will never know. There are trillions and trillions of planets, just like Earth, with life on it, just like Earth, and we'll never know. We'll never meet them. They are gone forever. Think about that. That's mind-blowing, isn't it? That's how big the universe is. It's insane.
Okay, I've got ChatGPT's answer. The basic answer here is the number of planets in the Milky Way galaxy is Jimmy Church is wrong. No, it says 100 billion to 400 billion. But that's tremendous. The point is that you're making, and I agree with you totally. There are so many planets out there that, Galileo found out that we were moving around the sun. Copernicus, getting back to this point, realized it. And then we got to the point where we understood the universe is incredibly vast. Now we're about to find out that it is people like us are just, in fact, there are probably more planets in this universe with intelligent beings on them or around them or started with them than there are grains of sand on planet Earth.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
But there's 2 ways of looking at it. That you can say, well, that makes us almost completely irrelevant. Or you can say something else. You can say that makes us incredibly rare. And I think the second answer is the truth. We are really rare.
No, you live in Santa Monica, great
Yeah.
beach, right?
Oh
And
man, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and just to walk out on that beach. Now, I'm not talking about the earth. I'm just talking about Santa Monica Beach, a little bit of Venice Beach to the Washington Street Pier to the Santa Monica Pier. That stretch of beach is insanely beautiful. Walk up, and it's big. Walk up in low tide, sand, and go pick up a single grain of sand off of that beach and look at it. That's our sun.
Yeah,
Think about that. That's
our sun.
crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's insane. I can't even wrap my head around that. And then you have all of the sand on this planet, and then you really starts to get a little bit daunting. And you're right though. I don't think it makes this insignificant. I just think we're just another house in the neighborhood. That's all. And we've got to learn how to play ball if you want to get invited on the team.
Well, that's the challenge right now, and that's what becoming. There's basically I have learned this by observing the grays, the visitors, as long as I have, and I know there are people that say there are other beings out there here. Rather, I have interacted with 3 different types. I've interacted with the grays, and they have these robotic additional presences with them. And I've interacted with the so-called tall whites, and I've interacted with a Nordic. Of all 3, I've done all 3. These 3. But they're all the grays, especially, are one type of species. They are not voiced. They cannot speak. They cannot make. They can't even make a sound. They can make a sound like "oh," like that, but they can't even make a noise like as complicated as a bird does. And in my book, I go into why. I go into exactly how their vocal system works, and they are, in other words, a non-voiced species.
Did they talk at one time?
That I don't know what their evolution is, but they are a non-voiced species. We are a voiced species, and that is a huge, huge difference. And in order to come together and have a relationship together, these 2 species, the first thing we have to do is something we have not gotten our heads around yet, and I get into this in the book a lot. We have to come to the point where we understand the differences between non-voiced and voiced. And there's one huge, massive difference. Each of us is a universe in of themselves. The species of the grays has many, God knows how many there are, could be billions of different sort of personalities, but only one mind. So they are like essentially alone. They can never have a conversation with anybody. They're always only them. And that's what the whole point of the previous book, Them, is about. And we each one of us is a universe in and of himself. Now, that means that we are going to be contentious and crazy and wild, and all kinds of stuff is going to happen. They, on the other hand, and the closer you get to this commune that they are, the quieter and more peaceful it becomes. They will present a very fierce face to the outside world, but within themselves, they are deeply and profoundly at peace. A peace of a kind we cannot share, and probably never will or should share, because there's nothing wrong with being what we are any more than there's anything wrong with being what they are. We're different, but we haven't addressed this. Part of the reasons the secrecy's been so deep, but I busted through that a long time ago. I know a lot more about them, frankly, than I know people behind the scenes and who worked on an interface with them at one point, and they come to me with questions. So yeah, I think I do know a lot about them. Anyway, this difference is where we start. That's the ground we start with the understanding of the ways in which we are different. And we've not gone there before, but we got to go there now, because they're manifesting in our world one way or another over they're asking me if the Greys eat anything, and I do know all about that. So if you want to skip to that, because it's in your chat.
It's in the chat. Okay, okay, hold on. I'll make a note, because I'm going to stay on this telepathy and
okay, because
the
the stuff about why they eat what they eat and how they do it is fascinating, and it will also explain some intense mysteries that we are living with right now.
Okay, so I have Gray eats ? Okay. Do we have, is there enough of a DNA match that we as humans have the tools for telepathic communication with the Greys that will come to us naturally, that we won't have to struggle with it? We don't need any modifications. Is that logistically, do we have everything?
When you're with them, telepathy is natural. It's fluent. You don't even know you're not talking. In fact, it's that fluent. But there's other levels to it. And the talking back and forth in your head level is only one small part of it. Let me give you an example of how it actually works in the real world. I just came back this afternoon from Mexico City. I love Mexico, and I'm part of my family is from Mexico, so it's a big part of my life. One of my great aunts, my Auntie Rosa King, wrote a marvelous book about the Mexico uprising in 1905 called Tempest Over Mexico. So I love going there, and it's a big. Anyway, I'm there. We're on a street corner and going to a taco stand somewhere in the north part of Mexico City. And I am now aware of the fact that unvoiced people are telepathic. And I can I know how, from being with the Greys, how to interrogate telepathically. So I find myself standing on a street corner, and I'm standing behind an unvoiced person, who's hand in hand with their caregiver or mother. And I realize that she's telepathic, because I can't hear any specific words. And this is the important part. I can feel her presence inside me. And she turns around because she can feel me too. And she's not used to that. She's not used to that experience. And so I immediately project hola. And then I try to remember how to say everything is all right in Spanish, but I'm too excited. I can't do it. So if after a few seconds, we're struggling, and the telepathy is working, but it's the language level, and we're not connecting almost because we don't have the same language. She takes it to another level, Jimmy, and suddenly I see an image of a little dog in my head. I realize this is her dog. She's showing me her dog as if to say, I'm telling you about myself and this is what I love. But the damn thing of it is the dog looks just like the dog I had when I was a little boy. So I bring up a picture of my dog in my head, and we share the pictures of our dogs. And it's like the dogs almost were aware of this, even though my dog's been dead for years. And I thought to myself afterwards, she and her mother is a little telepathic too. So they're both turned around and smiling at me. And it's a really sweet moment. And afterwards, I thought to myself, I wonder if they now have a ghost dog in their house as well as their physical dog. But you see what I'm telling you is about a different way of being alive. Yeah, different way of communicating, a different way of being alive. And it's very beautiful.
So much has been made. This is on me too, as well. Where did you communicate? Well, we did telepathically. So what language was it in? So we always want to verbalize telepathy.
because we
Right.
only know verbal. That's our
Right.
world.
Right. But then if telepathy is used correctly, dude, you can share video clips.
Absolutely.
That's a
It's wild. I mean, you can make video clips. Like one of the first times I ever had a non-verbal telepathic contact with one of the Greys. Years ago, I used to go out in the woods in the middle of the night up in my cabin, the old cabin I had, to communicate to the Greys that I wanted to do this. And was it scary? It was damn scary, but I didn't see any other way of communicating with them because I had to show that I was ready. And one night, I'd been doing this for a couple of years, and I'd had a few experiences, but the main thing is that I didn't usually have experiences on the walk, but they came back into my life for sure in many, many ways. But one night, I was walking along, and I could feel the presence of one of them that I had encountered before. And, they have one mind, but they all have personalities. And so I was aware of this personality. Couldn't see him. He's right on the side of the path and in some bushes. I knew that if I shined my flashlight there, would be gone. So I didn't do that. And instead, there was a log I could sit on there. So I sit down and I close my eyes and I project, can I ask you a question? And I didn't get any response. So I may have said aloud, I don't remember, but in those days I couldn't do telepathy very comfortably or very easily. I could do it, but I would talk often without realizing I was talking physically. Then I asked the question, what does the universe mean to you? And that was when I got my first taste of visual telepathy.
what happened.
He showed me a picture of a coffin.
What?
A coffin, Jimmy.
That's his picture of the universe? Explain.
I think, and I think this is one of the main reasons the Greys are here, is they have used up all knowledge. And, there was an article in Science magazine in April of 1977 that I've quoted in more than one of my books, including The Fourth Mind, by T.B.H. Kuiper and Mark Morris, the Kuiper Belt astronomer. And Mark Morris was a very important, also a cosmologist. And they theorize in there that if aliens showed up, and these are two guys who probably knew they were here, they probably would have been in on it in the behind the scenes, at least. So if they were here, they would not show themselves because they would want, the only thing they could possibly want from us was a sense of the new. And I think that's the truth. And I think that's why they hang back. And they hang back because they can come close to us. And they can get very close to you. Like, remember, we were talking, let's circle back now from where we were a little while ago with Ross's show. The guy said that he felt that he was possessed by this, but he didn't indicate that it was anything unpleasant. And what they're doing, and they do this with me all the time, and at first it was very disturbing, but I've gotten used to it, and there's a lot of give and take, and it's quite fun now. They like to get into your mind and share your life, because for them, maybe nothing is new anymore. But for us, every second is always new. And they relish that experience. I think that's one of the main reasons they're here, is to share that, get to share that experience. And I think they're going to give us a lot of things and a lot of help if we're able to learn to share that with them.
Kind of like when you're with your children on their first real Christmas. You relive that. You relive your Christmas through that.
Yes, it's beautiful, Jimmy. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. They want to relive the sense of discovery that is part of our every breath we take. They want that.
Here's the trippy thing. We've had, now, I'm not talking about fringe. I'm not talking about theories or anything. Let's just go with some accepted facts. You brought up Copernicus and Galileo. And so we'll start there. Newton. We've had like real science at best for 400 years. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Where are we going to be as a civilization a million years from now? Think about that, right?
It's unimaginable. It's beyond belief.
Yeah. What would be left to discover? So going back to your point, if we've come this far in 400 years, right? Really, the last 100 years is the good stuff. Right? The antibiotics, electricity, the moon, the internet, things like that, communication, stereo, Jimi Hendrix, right? That's all modern stuff. So where are we in a million years? Well, think about our sun is 5 billion years old, expected to have a lifespan of about 10 billion years. So it's about halfway through.
It's in its middle age.
It's in middle age. It's about halfway through. So just think about other civilizations out there with the same type of sun, the same situation that we're in, but they got a million-year jump on us. A million years. Yeah, I could see them going, I think we got it all figured out.
They don't have a million years on us at all.
You know what? This is, go to Chat GPT. It'll say Jimmy Church is right. This is my take on that. If we just look at the Milky Way and not the fact that there's 2 trillion other galaxies in the observable universe, just our Milky Way. This is what Avi Loeb said to me. He thinks that there are at least 1 trillion planets in the Milky Way, 500 billion or more, rocky, Earth-like, and habitable. Now, so if you just take a percentage of that, small, 1%, what's 1% of 500 billion? That's a big number. That's a lot of intelligent life. Yes.
Huge
and
number.
So to have a million-year jump on us, 2 million, how about a billion-year jump on us? So, yeah, I could see civilizations out there thinking they've got it all figured out. Maybe some of them do. I would say that anybody that's got to jump on us, even by a couple of decades, might have consciousness figured out. And that's the key. Isn't that our next stage in evolution?
Well, listen, our next stage in evolution was AI. And the next stage after that, which is going to start, has already started, is telepathy. So we're moving pretty fast, meaning that they may not be that far ahead of us. It may only, and because what if they're not the geniuses in this universe? What if it's us? I mean, I feel like a genius. And let me see here. Is Jimmy Church a genius?
Oh, it's going to say yes. Yeah. Point it up to the screen.
I can't do that. My hands are too weak.
What?
Yeah, it is. All right, I'll ask it. I'll actually ask it so everybody can hear. Is the podcaster Jimmy Church a genius?
This is going to be painful.
All right. Okay. Jimmy Church, host of Fade to Black and frequent guest host on Coast to Coast AM, used to be a skillful and influential figure in the world of alternative media and podcasting. Oh, I know. It says is. I misread that. While the term genius is subjective and often tied to specific fields of the sciences or not, Jimmy Church is somewhat talented in his domain. Oh, no, I misread that too. It says certainly talented in his domain. Listen, let's get back to a couple things. One is this. One of the comments that flew past was when I was talking about the Greys and this connection, and the guy, and I don't remember his name, who was with Ross, saying he felt possessed and it was not a bad thing. A very interesting and important comment went past. Whitley, you are describing a parasite. Now, that's an important comment. I would normally, someone who maybe was not as close to this as I have become would say, "Oh, no, that's not it." I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that we need to cut the cards in this whole relationship, because it's one thing if this is communion, like my wife, she titled my first book Communion, said. It's another thing entirely if they are taking stuff from us in our souls and our memories and our lives and taking it, cutting it out of us. And Linda Moulton Howe has and I, one of the first things when Linda came up to my cabin in I think before Communion was even published. I mean, she came up real early, and we discussed the possibility that this was a parasitic presence. I have lived with it a long time now, and I don't think of it as being parasitic. I think of it as being much more symbiotic. Like, I get a lot from them, and I give them a lot. They need this. I do a meditation with them every morning at 3:00. And if I don't do it, they get unhappy. And it's incredibly intimate. And I would have said maybe 20 years ago, I'm very nervous about this. I would say now, I do not feel that they are taking something from me and not giving anything back. But I would also say, as we get deeper into this, don't forget, I said, let's us cut the cards here. Let's not fall into this and say, oh, I feel possessed and I'm good with that. No, let's not do that. Let's say we're here. We have our boundaries and our limits, and we have this to offer. But we don't want to give away the whole damn store.
The new book is called The Fourth Mind. Our guest tonight is Whitley Strieber. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at J Church Radio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Today we're headed to Bolivia, Tiwanaku, Peru, and of course, Pumapunku. Brian, exciting. Thank you so much for everything, my friend.
Always an honor. Right behind us is the sacred river of the Inca that goes past Machu Picchu. So we're going to be driving up to its source at 15,000 feet above sea level and then down to Lake Titicaca.
So today we hit 15,000 feet.
Yes.
Crazy. And you can do it with us. All you have to do is go to hiddenincatours.com. Simple. We've got 2 tours coming up next year, one in June for the summer solstice, right? And then another one right here in November. So hiddenincatours.com. Come and hang out with Brian and I and his amazing team.
Right on.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. He's got a new book out. It is called The Fourth Mind. The Fourth Mind. And Whitley, you're going to be with us at the Conscious Life Expo coming up in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
No, I'm not. Serena told me I wasn't invited this year. No, you're laughing, but I'm actually telling you the truth. I am absolutely not invited.
I never knew. I never know when you're pulling my leg.
No, I'm not pulling your leg now. I was shocked. And she can tell you why. She gave me some explanation, but no,
okay.
The answer is I'm not going to be there.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. I didn't know. You didn't know. Okay.
I did know. I've been very disappointed about it.
Okay. What do grays eat? And
okay.
I've thought about this so much, and okay. I want your answer. But
okay, I can give you a price.
But here's the thing. We see descriptions and hear about descriptions of them, not wearing clothes. Some do. Some have suits on and stuff. Some don't. But there always seems to be the lack of stuff downstairs.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. The first part of my book is about the anatomy, the brains, the minds, and the beliefs of the Greys. Its intent is to demystify them. And I've seen them a lot. I haven't described much of what I've seen. I've mostly told stories about the relationship not so much about their anatomy and so forth, although in communion, I do go into the anatomy a little bit. Actually, there's a whole chapter about it. But however, there appeared a document on Reddit last year from a biologist who claimed to have studied the Greys, the two bodies, or a couple of bodies that we have at Fort Detrick. I had heard about those bodies a number of times over the years, and General Arthur Exon told a relative of mine that he had held one of the bodies in his arms when it was brought from from Roswell to Wright Field. He and my uncle Mickey were at Wright Field, detailed to the Air Materiel Command under General Twining when that happened. So they were there, and they were actually, and they, after I published Communion, my uncle had me come down and see him at the Lackland Air Force Base retirement community, and he told me a lot of things about what had happened at Wright Field at that time in 1947, and introduced me to General Exon, who had learned even more. And so I learned a lot about them then. I also had quite a few contacts with them. So when that document came out, I realized I can do this. I can actually go through this in detail and compare it not only to what I have observed, but to what I have learned from other people, including one thing about the way they excrete waste matter that nobody knows except me. I have seen it done.
Okay. Whoa.
We're getting there. We're getting there, Jimmy.
Okay.
Just let me give me a chance.
I'm calming down.
So I had seen that done, and the document described it very precisely. And I thought, okay, there's something to this document. Then the document gets into something else I had been told by someone from behind the scenes about the way their bodies somehow interacted with the ships in order to give them warmth when they were in outer space. And the document proceeds to describe that their bones contain not marrow, but copper, a type of copper. Now, I immediately realized that this would work because the ships themselves have a super high intensity magnetic field. This is why we're not flying around in them, because we don't have a power source enough of a power source that's portable enough to create a magnetic field that intense. But we have measured that. We know how intense that field is. And if they ever open the doors, you'll find a lot of scientific work has been done on that. Anyway, when a copper is in a high intensity magnetic field, it's not magnetically sensitive, but it gets warm. So that's what they do. Now, okay, so they've got copper in their bones. That means that they have a high demand for copper in their nutritional system. Where do you find? You're going to need some protein, a lot of carbohydrates, and copper in anything that you eat. Where do you find blood or food like that on Earth? You find it in cattle, in two places, actually. We have blood that would fill the bill. But if they start eating us, there's going to be trouble. I mean, people will notice this. But not the cattle so much. You know the cattle mutilations? They take every part of the cattle, including the blood, that has high copper content and high protein content. That's why they butcher them the way they do, and they do it with a plasma knife, a knife, a very intense beam of electrons that does this cutting, and they take the blood. That's what they eat. It's not a mystery. The
Vampires.
cattle mutilations are not a mystery anymore. They eat that. That's their food.
Do they eat or drink?
No, they drink. They don't have any teeth or anything like that in their mouth. They will suck it in, suck it down.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Now, okay, we need to talk about number 1 and number 2 as well. But if it goes in, it's got to come out. But before we get to that, you're saying that it's almost like an Anne Rice novel?
Well, not exactly. I mean, we eat cattle too, right? They just eat them in a different way.
They're drinking blood through a straw?
I don't know how they ingest it. I'm sure it goes in through the mouth, but I don't know what method they use. But there's also another thing about this, that if you look in carefully into the cattle mutilations, you find that, remember I alluded, they take other things. They take lips. They take lots of places, parts of the body, which have a high density of stem cells. I think they might be cloning the cattle as well.
Okay, you want to trip out? I
did that a long time ago, Jimmy.
I'm gonna trip Whitley Strieber out. You ready?
Yeah.
This was a Christmas gift to me this year from a friend of mine who's probably in the chat. This is a 1 ounce copper proof coin of alien grays.
You're kidding.
Yeah, right there. Look at
that. Is very trippy.
Is that bizarre?
That's wild.
1 ounce pure copper proof, and it's got 2 grays on the front. Yeah, there, it's right there. Kind of weird. It's kind of you know, synchronicity is a bitch. It's just weird.
Fascinating.
It is. It's so fascinating to have that conversation. And this is just sitting as you're telling me this. This is sitting in front of me and staring at me. What a strange synchronicity that is. Now, okay. Also on this coin, and you have to see this. The 2 grays with my cameras here. I don't have autofocus. These are fixed, expensive. You would think with these cameras and these lenses that they would autofocus, but they're fixed lenses. Anyway, so these 2 grays are standing in front of some ancient temples. Okay. What's the connection there? What do you think you just saw the commercial? I'm going back to Peru. And when you go to, like you have, and you go to these ancient sites and you observe and see and feel, yeah, okay, we're being lied to. There's that part of it. But there seems to be something that was before us, right? Before us.
Yeah, there's a lot that was before us.
Yeah, what do you think that connection is?
Well, the second you keep, to be fair, you didn't get a copy of my book until tonight, but you're asking incredibly good questions. But then again, there's a reason you have a successful podcast.
Well, ChatGPT is not wrong.
That's right. ChatGPT is not wrong.
All right.
And the second half of the book is basically about us. In the first half, I go through the grays, their anatomy, their genetics, the genetics of the hybrids, and what is right and wrong about their genetics and things like that. And also, their blood and their food and what they eat, and their powers of telepathy, of healing, of instantaneous movement, of the ability to move very heavy objects and levitation and things like that. The book, incidentally, is dedicated to Dr. Roger Lear for a reason. He went down to Brazil in 2002 and interviewed people about the Virginia case, and he interviewed some doctors, and one of the doctors made a statement that the being that they were operating on, they set the leg of this being that had been injured, and you'll see in the fourth mind that their bone structures are very much like ours, and that's why a human doctor, was able to set this leg. In any case, the being communicated to this doctor that they felt sorry for us because we had lost, did not have, but had lost powers, like the power to heal. Why did that happen? I think I figured it out. And the second part of the book starts with a period in our past called the Younger Dryas, where the debris, the physical debris from a supernova that had happened, the radiation from it reached us 30,000 years ago. Then 12,000 years ago, we were one species. We had these powers. The fortress at Sacsayhuaman in Peru, the unbelievable stonework where we could apparently melt stones, the platform at Baalbek, which, I'm sorry, the Romans didn't move those stones.
No, they
Period.
did not.
The 750,000 10-ton and plus basalt logs that make up the artificial islands of Non-Madal in the Carolinas in the South Pacific. 750. No one did that with powers that we have now or had at any time in our history. I think Graham Hancock is right. I think this was done before, and it was done at a time when we did have those powers. In the book, I show we were able to levitate in the past, and I show it convincingly. You'll know it's true when you read the book. I show we had telepathy in the distant past before this catastrophe occurred. I show we had don't show that we had healing powers, because I don't see any evidence of that. But I show we had a lot of these powers. And what happened was the unbelievable shock. We basically had a 1,000-year period where the sky was alive day and night with meteor strikes. The glaciers were struck with enormous numbers of large-scale meteors and comets that collapsed the Laurentide Glacier, that in a matter of days slid down into the Gulf of Mexico. The sea levels rose over a short period of time 400 feet. Can you imagine what this world would be like? But before that happened, these bolides that kept coming in set the entire North American continent on fire. And we had some bad fires in LA a couple of years ago, some terrible fires in Australia. This was the mega super fire. It's still, the evidence of it is very plain now. It's a geologic feature called the black mat. It's not in scientific dispute. I am not a science. I don't like to go to the edge of science. I like to stay close to where we already are. And in this case, that the black mat indicates that literally the entire forested area of North America burned. When that happened, temperatures around the world plummeted. It became dark, not for days or months, but for years and years and years. Mankind went into this catastrophe one species. We were telepathically linked. We were non-voiced, probably. We mostly had singing voices. We could probably levitate. We could move enormous stones. We had means of altering a lot of planetary surfaces and things on the planet with our minds. We came out of it a greatly diminished, desperate species with all of our our whole world, which clung to the seashores, completely inundated and so far underwater we can't find it to this day. Graham Hancock has found a little bit of evidence in the Indian Ocean, I believe. But going down 450 or 500 feet to do archaeology in underwater is just not going to happen because it's too expensive. In any case, the probability is that whatever was left there was completely destroyed. What was left after the Younger Dryas ended was a population of this planet that was probably dropped by 3/4 or more. And we had forgotten our powers. We had lost our powers.
It's such an extraordinary thing to contemplate and to process. That what are the facts that we know? Well, if you're going to survive, you're going to live by the sea, right? And so you look at all of the cities around the world. I don't care if you're talking about London, New York, Miami, Los Angeles, just all through Asia. Just pick that. That's it. Well, that's what was going on back then, 12,000 years ago. And then suddenly 400 feet of sea rise,
right?
All of those advanced cultures along shorelines disappeared. And you're right.
Yeah, and they weren't
happened in days. It happened in days.
It happened in days. And the first part of it, the older Dryas, as it's called, sea levels rose about 50 feet. That was but then the real mother of all disasters was the next one, the Younger Dryas, and that's when the 400-foot. There must have been. In fact, we know that in places there were massive, unbelievable tsunamis, things that we are beyond comprehension now, that ended that world and everything in it. I would not be surprised if it did not look like cities we have now. And if we go down, we might not be able to understand what was there. Like things like this, the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, that could be the kind of massive megalithic thing that they did. But, you ask yourself a simple question. Why is it that everything that's the oldest things on planet Earth are also the best engineered?
And the biggest.
The oldest pyramids, the best, and it goes on like that all around the world.
You mentioned Sacsayhuaman, and I've been there twice. I'm going back in a couple of months, and I'm going twice this year, and I can say with confidence, because I've also been to Egypt a lot, and I can say with confidence that Peru, for its own reasons, is much more fascinating than Egypt. And there's a lot more to see. And it's mind-blowing. And when you go to Sacsayhuaman, and Sacsayhuaman isn't the only situation like that in Peru, but it's certainly one of the most famous. But you have Machu Picchu anyway, you go to Sacsayhuaman, and all you can do is say to yourself, how? The why part, okay, but that is so big and so ginormous. And when I try to explain to people that we're talking about in each section of each groove, there's at least one stone that's bigger than your house. Now, you need to think about that for a second. 30 feet tall, 3 stories tall, 10 feet in the ground, 12 feet in the ground. And you look at the size of this, and then they tell you the quarry is 10 miles over those mountains. And it just doesn't compute. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
It
it
just,
does not. It absolutely
no,
does not compute.
it doesn't.
But well, and
Baalbek is such a fantastic example.
yeah,
The unfinished obelisk in Aswan.
right. And the fact that all of those columns, those granite columns, were brought up from Aswan to Baalbek, thousands of them. How did that happen? Graham Hancock's been to Baalbek. We're good friends, and I haven't traveled. I wish I'd traveled with him more, but I haven't. But he said the second you walk onto the site, impossible. It can't be here, but it is. And it's not the quarry is within sight line of the platform. It's not a secret, but what is interesting is there is no indication on the ground between the quarry and the platform of any foundational work at all done to build like a road to move the stones. None.
No, there's none of that there.
And here's another question, and this is not just Baalbek; it's a lot of different sites. In the quarry, I believe that huge stone is called the mother or something. That stone. Why did they just abandon? It's like they suddenly stopped and just ran off? What was and for that matter, what was the platform built for? What was supposed to stand on it? There are a lot of Roman temples on it now, but that means that prior to that, what was supposed to be there?
Yeah, the Romans must have been so happy, and the Greeks when they got there.
Yeah,
Man,
and they find this wonderful platform and all these columns flying around.
Yeah,
but what happened?
Yeah,
I don't go into this in the fourth mind because it's so clear that so much of the younger dryas was natural, that and also that all of this debris hitting the sun would have caused tremendous solar flares and solar activity. Yeah, stone of the pregnant woman. One of the listeners says that's what it's called. Would have caused so much solar activity. There would have been unbelievable auroras and electromagnetic flares in the sky. And I think our stories of wars between the gods come from that era. But was there something else going on? Right. Was there some kind of a war? Why are there vitrified forts in Scotland? Why is there a city in Palestine, in Israel, that was melted from above? Lot may have been a refugee from some kind of a war. We just don't know what our past is. In order to pull this thing together, we got to start by, and I go into this in my book much, we got to get to the point where we are willing to try to make a serious effort to find out who we really are. We don't know that. We created a logical timeline. Like in the Americas, it started 10,000 BC with the Clovis people, and anyone who believed differently was basically their career was destroyed. That's now right. We know for certain that human beings were here a lot longer, much before that, 30 or 40,000 years ago, even. And the people who were killing other people's careers over their refusal to believe the Clovis story they're still in power, and the people who got thrown out of paleoanthropology and so forth are still out. And
such a dark part of archaeology and anthropology that you were not allowed to dig past a certain depth.
Right.
They don't want to hit. No. We don't. No. You go this far and you stop. Or
if you're not a conspiracy theorist, then you have to say to yourself, these are people who would rather appear to be right than be right.
Such a dark part, and it's right here now. If we take a look at and we stay focused on this, when you see something like Sacsayhuaman or Baalbek or the obelisk in Aswan, right? So you go, let's use Aswan for an example. You go and you can observe it, your own eyeballs, and you look and you can see it, and you can do the math in your head. You see how long it is, you know it's red granite, you know it's 1,000 or more tons. You can see that. You can see the size of it. All right. That's not what's important. And it's impressive. No, it's what was your plan? You know, right? What was your plan?
What was your plan? Right. What were you
plan?
What were you doing?
What were you doing? I can see. Okay. All right. I can see you've got. What was the next step? What was the next step? Who was the genius? Or they knew what they were doing. You know, they had a way to do it, and it was easy, Whitley. It wasn't hard. That's the only thing.
And it probably indicates that there are things about the earth and its energies and what it has to offer us, and possibly what it needs from us, that we no longer understand, but they did understand. And that's why those monoliths and those structures no longer make any sense to us. It's as if we dropped the thread or lost the thread.
Amnesia.
We did. The thread was pulled out of our hands by this disaster. And these
it just doesn't make any sense. And I'm telling everybody, go to Peru. If you can make it to Lebanon, go to Lebanon. Go to Egypt. Go to these different sites and see and witness this for yourself. Because when you're in Aswan and you're walking up that hill at that quarry, and you already know that the relieving stones in the king's chamber came from them, those were 100 tons each. There's 70 of those in the Great Pyramid. How did you think about that? Okay, but anyway, you come up over the hill, and nothing can describe what you see and feel the first time you observe the unfinished obelisk. You have no idea the size of that. It's insanity. Now, they were going to get that out of the hole. That's right there, right? How's that going to happen? And then you were going to move it to where? Well, it was easy. And with our modern way of looking at things, with the amnesia that you're talking about, our modern ways of doing things won't get that done. And that's the only thing that we have to compare things to.
We're a species in amnesia. Barbara Hand Clow, who I love Barbara. I had her on Dreamland recently. You ever had Barbara on your show?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Well, she has this book out years ago. She's rewritten it, and it was called Catastrophobia. And it's about the fact that we are amnesiac about our past because something so terrible happened to us that we literally can't remember it. That amnesia is in our DNA. We can't remember our own past.
We do that in our own lifetimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Our minds protect us. Okay.
But then try living with the visitors, and you get, they can turn you off and on like a light switch. You
100%.
get missing time.
It's the same situation, in a weird way, it's protection.
Yeah.
I want to stay on this for a second, though. We talk about Sacsayhuaman, but the dating of things, to me, gets really crazy when you get to Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, because much has been said about the H blocks. Yeah, they're fascinating to look at. It's crazy. I've photographed them all from every angle, all of them. But Pumapunku itself is large, Whitley. Have you been there?
No,
Have you?
I've been to Tiahuanaco.
Okay, so across the street from Tiwanaku is Pumapunku. It's across the street. And but anyway, Pumapunku is actually quite large. We always see the H blocks and everything that's out in front, yes, but the site itself, it's square, and it's got these beautiful stone walls. It's just perfectly carved, like you see all over Peru. Anyway, so you walk around, and it's big. It takes probably an hour to get to the back half of the site. But when you walk around the back half, now you're on the shoreline, okay? And on the back half, so all of it is perfect, these perfect walls. It's gorgeous, and they're tall, and the stonework is beyond measure. But you come around the back of Pumapunku, and something happened. And all of the stone wall is tumbled out. These ginormous blocks, they're 10 feet long. I don't know, 3-4 feet deep, 3-4 feet high, big block. They're just scattered about like toys. And then you come up, and there's this large stairway that looks, I'm just going to say it looks melted. I don't know. But so I'm standing there with Brian, and, I've been to the site now a couple of times, and this part of it just fascinates me. And so I said to Brian, I said, what happened? He said, this is my thought. I think that there was a cosmic event. Something came out of the sky, hit in the water here, tsunami, storm, water, flood, heat, fire, and all of this was destroyed and blasted out and came the other way. Now, that same type of event, now Pumapunku's been dated to 15,000 years ago, right? So this is 12,000 BC. It's right back to the same numbers that were presented with all around the world. And this is, and this is where I think anthropology and archaeology, we need to get on the same page here. The evidence is there. Let's figure out what's going on and quit trying to run from it.
That's the problem with, human beings are wonderful on an individual basis. We get into groups, we can get pretty mean and pretty difficult. You could have a situation where someone in the Ford Motor Company made a decision to save a few pennies and created thousands of cars in the Pinto that blew up and burned people to death, and that sort of thing. And when we get into a group as archaeologists, and this is true of all of the sciences and the academy and all of it, once you get into a group, you have a group think going on, and you become more interested in defending the group beliefs than you do in finding the truth. And that is a huge problem.
Is it just because it's easier to take the safe road?
No, it's because of the fact that that if you go against the group's beliefs, you're thrown out of the group, and you need the group for your life. Your career depends on the group.
So you stay safe. You take the safe path. You take it's kind of like, I know you did this when you were a kid. Some days you just didn't do your homework because you wanted to go outside and play with your friends, right? Now, doing your homework is hard. Takes work. Going outside and playing with your friends and ignoring your homework is easy, right? And for some reason, we get sucked into that, don't we? Take the easy road instead of taking the more difficult one and go against the grain.
Well, a road less traveled. Unless we come to understand who we really are, we're not going to make it. I mean, we're just basically not going to make it. There's too many of us on the planet. Things are changing too quickly. These societies are going to begin to break down one way or another. If nature doesn't do it, something else is going to do it. And we need to take a close look and give you an example of what I mean. We've been talking about these extraordinary constructions from the past. What if I told you there was someone in the present who could do that? Someone new. And that was a man called Ed Leedskalnin, who built the Carl Castle in.
For sure.
Ed, I mean, have you been there? I've been there.
Yes, I have.
As soon as you see it, you know that it's impossible. He couldn't have built it, but he did. And he said he had an ancient Egyptian secret, and he died with that secret. We don't know what it was, but it's still somewhere in the world. I suspect if Ed found it, somebody else, somewhere, it's still somewhere. I hope. Maybe we can recover it, or maybe we can find it inside ourselves, which I think it is hidden. All of these secrets, go ahead.
Well, if I had the opportunity to ask just one question to a civilization that arrives here, right? So if they get here, they therefore are more advanced than us. I think it's a pretty simple deduction. One question, and that question would be, how did you guys survive? How did you guys make it? How did you make it through the tough times? What's the secret? And I think that's right where you are right now. You know, you just said it. You know, we won't make it. Well, I think that would be my question to ET. You know, not where are you from, not what kind of is pineapple good on pizza. You know, okay, but how did you make it?
That's
the secret.
That's the question, because that's the question we've got to answer pretty quickly.
What would you ask? What would you ask?
I think that's the best question I've ever heard. I think if I ever was in a situation like that, that's a question I will ask.
Yeah. I mean, and what if ET says this, Whitley? And this will take us to the next part of the show before we get out of here. What if ET says, you know what? It doesn't really get better. What if they say that? What if they, you know, it's you know what? It's all sucky. You know, it's just different layers, different levels of suckiness. What if that's it? You know, because we're always, you know, searching for nirvana, for you know what I mean? For this thing. And what if ET says, it's not going to happen?
I don't think that they would be here if it didn't matter. Then they are here.
Teaching us. Yes. Right. Right. I mean, you know, I think that the Pandora's box for this planet is a scary answer to the big questions, you know, and I don't know if we could handle a scary answer. That's the thing. We have to have a reason to exist, right? You have to have a reason to move forward. You don't want that pulled out from under you.
Well, I don't feel that at all. I feel a tremendous commitment to moving forward personally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really do. I'm very alive, and you know, I know a lot of other people who are the same way. I've got grandkids, and they are wonderfully alive. I mean, you see the wonder in a child's eyes, and you know it's worth being human.
Or a kitten's eyes, or puppy's eyes. Look at a puppy. Look at a baby goat.
Yeah.
Baby goats are pretty good reason.
Dogs are fascinating. They're born in love with us.
Yeah,
Puppy's gonna.
There's a documentary out. It's out right now. It's called "We Don't Deserve Dogs."
That's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great. I'll leave that right there. So why is it that some have very negative and very bad and very traumatic ET contact experiences?
Repeat that, will you?
Why is it that okay, benevolent, and I get that, yin and yang, black and white, good and bad, hot and cold, all of that. But there are some out there that have had some pretty traumatic contact experiences.
Yeah,
Where
I'm one of them.
Yeah, where it's just it's not all rainbows and unicorns.
Well, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. I mean, if we went to another planet, there would be the odd rainbow and definitely an occasional unicorn, but it would not be all rainbows and unicorns by any means, because we'd be there for a lot of different reasons. We'd be there to learn about them. We'd be there to teach them, perhaps. We might be there to save them if they were in trouble. We might be there to exploit them. In fact, we would be there to exploit them in various ways. In other words, what we would see would be just about what we see now here. What's here is definitely, to an extent, altruistic. It is exploitative to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of different shadings of it. There's no central definite policy, and it is very secretive. And why would you be secretive? Well, one reason is if they're sensitive to us, our needs, they would be hanging back for exactly the same reasons that Kuiper and Morris said, because we have to be we would be overwhelmed by their presence. But if they've got other plans here, like the abductions, do you really think we would have sat still for that? I don't think so. Eggs and semen taken from people, we wouldn't have agreed to that. And they knew it, or they would have come in the front door instead of the back door in the middle of the night.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what was that horse? The first Daisy. What was the name of that horse? Remember Daisy? Or I think, was it Daisy in the early 70s? That
Elsie,
had
the cow that got abducted?
the horse that had its teeth. And
I think it. I don't remember.
Anyway, that was a bad day for Daisy. That wasn't a fun experience.
Yeah, well, look, we wouldn't exist if the dinosaurs hadn't been destroyed. But I mean, they would not agree that evolution was a good thing, I'm sure.
Let's leave on that note. I've thought about this a lot. 65 million years. Okay, so humans, depending on who you talk to and how you want to look at it, 200,000 years, Homo sapiens sapien, 200,000 years. We've had 10,000 years since the last ice age of some pretty rapid progress. But 65 million years of evolution. If that comet doesn't hit, right? Are the dinosaurs today building radio telescopes, and are they flying to other galaxies? Do they evolve into a super species over 65 million years?
In other words, was the comet hitting planet Earth a setback for consciousness on Earth?
That's exactly my
really
point.
Cool question, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I might write a book about that, but you won't get any money.
All the time. Whitley, I think about it all the time.
It's fascinating. You know what that gets me thinking about?
What's that?
It gets me thinking about those mummies in Cusco in Peru.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are going to be doing a major study of those mummies very soon. And those mummies first of all, a lot of things about them look like the graves. they have a certain amount of, they could be from that era. They could be a survival from that distant past. And that, I mean, they're dead now, obviously, but I've thought, when I look at them, the bodies, and I see what they look like, I thought, God, if the dinosaurs had evolved an intelligent species, it might look like this.
There's a mummy there. And the name is, I'm gonna pull up, just stay with me for a second. Waikiki. And so with Waikiki, I'm gonna see if I can pull this up fast. If I can't pull it up fast, then don't worry about it. Okay, I'm not going to waste everybody's time here. Excuse me. Waikiki is about 16 inches tall, discovered 50 years ago by this archaeologist. And I have, I'm looking here. So I go and I visit now, 14 inches tall, but there's some anomalies with this mummy that don't make any sense. And the first thing is the fontanelle on the top, the opening is not closed. So the mummy itself is younger than 2 years old. All right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the count of the ribs. There is only 10 sets of ribs instead of 12. Okay. That's crazy. The head of the skull. Now, it's it's 14 inches, it's like this big. But the skull is about the size of a baked potato. It's about this big, right? But it's elongated. But it's got adult molars. Adult, Whitley. Adult molars. It's got,
I know those mummies are really strange.
This is different than all of the other mummies that are there, in that here. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Check this out. I'm going to show you some images here. And just remember everything that I told you. This is 2 years old. That's the first thing. And the entire mummy is 14 to 16 inches tall. Okay, here you go. You ready? Look at this. Now, look at the fontanelle still open. And remember, that skull is only this big.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, look, look at the size of the eye sockets.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look at adult molars. Okay. Now, just how crazy is that? The ribs.
Where is that
up.
thing?
That's it's in Peru. And
my God.
Yeah. That is the craziest thing. And this is real. Look at that. This isn't something, put together with chicken bones, and this is beyond dispute. This is an actual mummy.
Well, a skeleton. I guess it is sort of mummified. Yeah.
Well, no, look at Brian. So no, the mummy was found in a royal tomb on its side. Now, the other thing, check this out. Look at the hands are cut off. Both of them.
Yeah.
And that's very strange. That's the bottom of the spinal cord there. There's no legs. All right. So you're looking at this entire thing from top to bottom is about 14 inches. The skull, as you can see, is half of that. Right. And then you just go and you look at this front view of the skull, which I think is one of the most telling parts for me, is this. Look at the proportion of the eyes and the teeth and the head. And this is 2 years old. It was born this way. This wasn't boarded, right? That takes years and years and years and years. when you see a boarded skull in the museums there, that's an adult. This was born this way. Look at that.
That is wild.
So I think I've got a couple of movies that I've shot with this, a shot of this. In my opinion, this is my opinion, but if you're going to have evidence of something that is nuts, I think that Waikiki represents that. I truly do. It's what you look at this and you just can't figure this. It doesn't compute.
Well, I can't comment on it because I haven't seen it, but I've seen enough here to know that if that's a baby, a normal baby, I'd be very surprised.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Whitley, thank you so much, my friend. And I know we've got links up for you, but where's the best place for everybody to go and check out your stuff? And of course, order the new book, The Fourth Mind.
Well, the Kindle and the paperback are available right now on Amazon, and it is a big bestseller so far on Amazon. It's doing really well. The audio book and the hardback will be out within the next few weeks.
Thank you so much. And where can everybody go and listen to your podcast?
Oh, my YouTube channel, Whitley Strieber Dreamland, rather, on YouTube. You can Apple Podcasts, anywhere, basically any podcast app is going to have Dreamland. And you can always listen to Dreamland on my website on unknowncountry.com. James Fox is up this week, talking about his new documentary, The Program, which is absolutely dynamite. James is down in Brazil right now doing a new documentary about the Varginha incident. And in a couple of weeks, I think it's the first week of February, we're going to have on Dreamland what amounts to proof that NASA has been hiding stuff on the moon and Mars, hiding things from us, not hiding like alien bodies, but doing stuff that makes it, this guy has figured out how to see what NASA has concealed and proves that stuff is being concealed. And that's a profound game changer. That's the second week of February.
Thank you so much,
first
Whitley.
week of February.
Send me the link. I'll get it out when it's up.
Thank you, Jimmy, as always.
Whitley Strieber, the absolute very best. Be safe, right? And it was a windy day today, and I'm just thinking, man, we don't need any more of this stuff. But Whitley, just be safe out there. And thank you for everything, man. This community thanks you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Have a good night.
Good
Whitley
night.
Strieber. Thank you, Whitley. The links for Whitley are below and over on our website, and of course, throughout social media. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What am I doing tomorrow night? Does anybody know what's going on tomorrow night? Oh, man, this is bad. This is bad. I've got a busy week. Oh, tomorrow night, Craig Campabasso is with us. He's got a new film out. It's the film version of his book, The E.T. Species Almanac. That's tomorrow night on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. But for now, all I've got is Go Back Lee Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.